Hey guys, it is John C. Morley here, serial entrepreneur. Welcome to IFYL, Inspirations for Your Life. I'm so happy that you popped in this evening, just a little bit before midnight. And, we always promise to get these out before I get to sleep. So thank you so much for making the time to be here, supporting me all these days and these years. Really appreciate that. We start on a Saturday, we roll through the week, and we finish up on a Friday, which is our ending of the master topic. And whether you're watching us at 1 a.m., 1 p.m., 3 a.m., 3 p.m., 12 noon, 12 midnight, 10 a.m., 10 p.m., or whenever you watch us, thanks so much for making Inspirations for Your Life a daily part of your day. And now, ladies and gentlemen, let's get on with our master topic, shall we? Here we go. How to tap into your creativity. We're on show 20, episode 7, series 2, which means we're in our second year. And welcome, everyone. So we're going to talk about the whole concept of, what is it about creativity? So creativity is something that a lot of people don't work with. And the reason they don't do anything with it, it's because they don't understand their imagination. So if I asked you, what is your imagination? What is it? And a lot of people would say it's a powerful tool that we learn about in psychology, and it helps us use our mental energy to visualize the outcomes we want, like winning a competition or, um, the lottery or what have you. The power of imagination and building mental images is so key to success in our life. It's not even funny. All right. So um, when we think about the biggest thing right now, which is to understand our imagination. So our imagination is something that we are born with, but we have to develop it, right? It's kind of like dough, We get dough and we have to knead it and we have to put it to the right shape and all that kind of stuff, right? Um, but how does imagination work? It allows us to create something in our mind. Now, we talked about a lot of different ways that you can do this, on the show this week. But I guess what I want to focus on is how do you use your imagination? So, we said that you need to picture, whether that's with words, sounds, touch, taste, or proprioception, where parts of our body are in relativity to space. We said you have to figure out how to enact those things. And as you do that, it causes your brain to show a picture or to give you, yes, a feeling. So a feeling is something that, is where things come from. It comes from feelings. Okay. That's where it comes from. It comes from feelings. And according to a lead researcher, Alex Schlegel, a graduate student in the Department of Psychological and Brain Sciences, the answer lies in the human's brain mental workspace. It's a widespread neural network, he said, that coordinates activity across several regions in the brain and consciously manipulates symbols, images, and ideas and theories. Our findings move us closer to the understanding of how the organization of our brain sets us apart from other species and provides us a rich internal playground for us to think freely and creatively. So, understanding the differences obviously will give us some benefits and allow us to recreate those same creative processes in other things, whether it be machines or other humans. Um, Brain intelligence is something that's not new, but I think we're starting to embrace brain intelligence a little bit more because we're realizing that if we understand what our brain can do, and a lot of times the difference between us doing something and not doing something is a perception, is a belief. Okay. And so we talked about, you having to be able to play. Remember, we talked about the apple, maybe being able to bite into the apple. What does the apple look like? What does it feel like? What does it taste like? What does it smell like? What's the texture, the sensations like? Um, we could talk about things like, maybe you are getting cold water poured on you, right? Or maybe you're talking about the fact that, you're looking for the solution. And I always say to people, if you're saying, well, how am I ever going to do that? Don't ask yourself, how are you ever going to do that? Because you're never going to figure out how to do that. What you want to say is, what would it look like when I'm successful? What would it look like? What would it feel like when I've achieved this goal? What would it feel like? And you might be, on the fence on this. So, what I tell you to do is take that mental canvas inside your head. Okay. And as you take that mental canvas, I want you to understand what's really going on. Can you do that? What would it take? What would it take? Think about that for a minute. If you ask questions like, what would it look like? Instead of, how am I ever going to do that? That will change your mental aptitude. And so our brain is something that likes to be played with and formed. And as we do this, ladies and gentlemen, you know what happens? We become very intelligent. We become a lot better than what we think we are. And so I know that you're probably saying to me, hey, John, I don't get this. And your brain is not something you're going to get all at once. Your brain is something you have to have like a cocktail, right? You don't drink the whole thing at once. You kind of sip it, you enjoy it, like a glass of champagne or prosecco, etc. So our brain has the potential to move mountains. It has the potential to create success. Now, I said potential. Why am I saying potential and not just do? Because you see, some people don't know how to put those blocks together. They don't know how to play with them. They don't know how to rotate them. They don't know how to play with concepts in their head. Let's take one right now. Let's pretend that we wanted to make, I don't know, a delicious um, chocolate cake. Okay. Now let's do that. So there are lots of chocolate cake recipes, right? So you can already picture the chocolate cake. It's so smooth, it's moist, it's got just enough chocolate on it. So how do you start out? Well, the first thing you want to do is I want you to picture in your mind's eye that you have what you need. You have a fourth a cup of plain yogurt, okay, per egg. You have 1 tablespoon of vinegar plus 1 tablespoon of baking powder whisked together per egg, and a quarter cup mashed banana per egg, and a quarter cup of unsweetened applesauce per egg. So you can adapt the recipe for different sizes and shapes of cakes, obviously. So the chocolate cake recipe will yield about 9 cups of batter total, or 3 cups for each of the 9-inch layers. So take a 9 by 2 inch round pan, or an 8 by 2 inch round pan, 2¼ cups. It depends on what you're doing. Or you could do a 9 by 13, 6 cups, whatever you want. As a general rule of thumb, cake pan should be filled 2/3 of the way full for cake baking, unless otherwise specified in the recipe that you're following. So when you start out with a recipe, I think the most important thing is really understanding it, right? So I want you to picture in your mind's eye, you got everything all ready. You've gotten this all done. You preheated your oven right now to 350 degrees. So So you can picture yourself walking over to the oven, preheating the oven. Maybe you press bake, then you hit the up or down arrows respectively, and then you hit preheat or start, and it starts, right? And so you lightly grease the 9-inch cake rounds or dust with flour or cocoa powder. And in the large mixing bowl, you're going to mix together the flour, the sugar, the cocoa, the baking soda, the baking powder, and the salt in a standard mixer using a low speed until it's combined. You'll add the eggs, the buttermilk, the warm water. Can you picture that? And the vanilla, and beat on a low speed. Again, you're making this recipe in your head. Divide that batter evenly among the 3 pans, about 3 cups per pan, and tap the cake pans gently on the counter to allow any bubbles to rise to the top and escape. Bake for 30 to 35 minutes in a 350-degree Fahrenheit oven until a toothpick inserted into the center comes out clean. Cool the cakes on a wire rack for 15 minutes and then move them from the pans and place them on wire racks to cool completely. Frost with your favorite frosting and enjoy. So you already can envision what that's going to be like, right? What that cake is going to look like. How about just imagining coming out of the oven, waiting till it's a little cool, taking a nice cut of that cake, putting it on a plate, maybe getting a glass of milk, nice tall glass of cold milk, and taking a fork and just digging into that cake, and it's just moist and it's warm, not too hot. And you take it, and you can just imagine yourself just eating that cake and just feeling what that's like, the sensations, the texture of the chocolate, the actual sensation of having the chocolate, but also you know let's say biting into the cake. What is that like? And then knowing, going for that milk. So we create sensations and we create stories in our mind, but the more we can be playful, the more they seem real to our brain. So, how do we improve our imagination? That's a multi-million dollar question. If somebody asked me that, John, how to improve your imagination? And the simplest thing, ladies and gentlemen, is to train your brain to be more creative. This actually came from the Harvard Business Review, by the way. And so, how do you do that? You need to engage with nature, get moving. You need to play with the objects. Note that you can have different features and controls in your brain to manipulate the objects or the sounds, right? And then once you do that, you should get feelings from it. Okay. If the picture is not giving you feelings, then you're not being creative enough. That picture, that story should just lift you up and should make you so elated just to be thinking about it. You can improve your imagination a lot of ways. I gave you the idea of, using the numbers, right, on the football field, and how you can take the numbers, and the more things you add, and then the more types of complexities you have. Like, let's say we start out with, I don't know, 2 discs that are about the size of, they're about the size of a suitcase, but pretend they're round and they're white. And now I want you to picture on both of those discs that there is a chocolate cream cake on the one on the left, and the one on the right. I want you to imagine that there is a peppermint pistachio cake. You can see the colors, you can see the differences. Let's get another saucer out here and let's put on another one, and let's pretend that has a pumpkin cake pudding. So you can see the pumpkin cake pudding, the pistachio one, and the chocolate cake. So now let's take the one that's the chocolate, all right, and let's take it and let's just take it off of the saucer, pick it up with your dominant hand, And I want you just to take it over your shoulder. And I want you to just, with all your might, just throw that cake, just pushing it forward and see how many furlongs or how many downs you could throw that cake. That's pretty amazing, right? So when we play with our creativity, things happen. Go for a walk. Be sure to reward yourself. And also remember that when you do stuff, it's okay to daydream. Feel free to conceptualize the problem multiple times. According to research, the color blue helps encourage people to think outside the box. So they say to surround yourself with blue. The color tends to help people feel safe, to explore, and be creative. Meditate is always a big one, okay? But why is it, John, some people are not creative? Well, that's an amazing question. It's because they've been told by others that they can't create, but really they can. They can. It's just that they believe that they can't, so therefore they don't. So they don't try. Creativity is something that can not only get us excited, but something that can open new worlds, something can get other conversations going. But the best thing about creativity is it allows us to play. And as we creatively play, we come up with new ideas, new concepts. That's how we do it. And these new concepts just allow us to go through. Now, let's imagine that same cake that we got. Now, I want you to imagine that there's 9 more cakes just like it on top of it. And as you're carrying the tray from the 50-yard line all the way down, just before the goal line, and just before you get to the goalie, go ahead and just throw that whole set of cakes so it lands right in his face. Can you picture that? So the thing about creativity is that it just allows you to draw new experiences. Let's take this pen for a moment. Okay, here's a pen. Okay. All right. Let's imagine right now that there were 10 pens just like this, including this one, there were 10. And let's imagine that on each one of the pens, there was another pen on top. And on top of that pen, there was a little mini multicolored umbrella. Can you picture that? Now let's pretend that there's like a reggae song. And all of a sudden, the pens just start doing a dance. And as they do the dance, this umbrella keeps like going from left to right. So you see how we got creative? And when you get creative, it's like you're able to bring something to light that no one else thought of. And everyone else could do it. It's just they don't believe so much in themselves. Ladies and gentlemen, I am John C. Morley, serial entrepreneur. It's been a privilege, a pleasure, and an honor to be with you this fantastic, amazing Friday. I hope you'll like, love, support the channel. Definitely comment below. Tag your friends, colleagues, and associates. Share this out with everyone you know on social media. Go to my YouTube channel, John Space E Space MRLY Space Serial Entrepreneur. Look for that key phrase. Help keep our content free. Make the choice, ladies and gentlemen, to buy my team and I a cup of coffee, a bowl of fruit, or perhaps a savory plate of a nice dessert. So don't forget to scan my QR code. Scan the QR code on the screen, or if you're not watching and you're listening, go to BelieveMeAchieve.com. We've got so much great, amazing content that I know you're not going to want to miss out. And by watching this content, you can actually ask yourself what-if questions. Try that tomorrow, whether it's at work or whether it's at home. Ask yourself a what-if question. What if I did this? Or what would it take to do this? Or what would it look like? When we ask these creative questions, it's like our brain wants to answer them. Not because it has to, but because it really wants to. I hope you guys have an amazing rest of your evening. And you know what, ladies and gentlemen? I'm going to see you guys tomorrow. So enjoy and have a great rest of your night or morning.